Hey folks, this is Office Hours with Desiree and Malcolm. This show is intended to peel back the curtain on the home mortgage industry and make the whole process more approachable and more accessible to everyone. Desiree Regusci currently serves as the Business Development Manager for Fortis Mortgage, and among other things, she is responsible for educating current and future clients on the ways in which the right mortgage can help make their home ownership dreams into a reality. Malcolm Ethridge recently began working with the team at Fortis Mortgage as a strategic consultant, where he lends his expertise and perspective as a certified financial planner in helping homeowners with unique and complex borrowing needs understand and navigate the mortgage landscape. In each episode, the pair will discuss a particular mortgage topic, share real-world examples, and give you the perspective of the lender, underwriter, and loan originator. So with that, Desiree, Malcolm, take it away.
Hey folks, thanks for joining us. I'm Malcolm Ethridge, that's Desiree Regusci, and this is Office Hours. And on this episode, we're talking about the differences between a cash-out refinance and a home equity line of credit. These days, it's not all that uncommon for homeowners to decide to tap into their home's equity in order to access liquidity. And whether it's in order to complete renovations, make a big purchase, or something else altogether, it can be a bit tough to decide which approach is best for your individual situation. So today, we'll be comparing and contrasting the cash-out refi versus a home equity line of credit, as well as some common scenarios where a cash-out refi might make more sense than a home equity line of credit, or the other way around. So let's get started. Desiree, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to tackle this one because it's a pretty popular conversation I found myself having over the last, 2-3 years at this point, however long COVID has been a thing and people have been wanting to improve their homes. So to get us started off, what are the key differences between using a cash out refi and a home equity line of credit?
I think the two things that stand out the most is obviously a cash out refinance is just refinancing the current mortgage. So typically with that, you're going to see, more flexible period of time for your term. And then of course the interest rates are going to be a little bit more favorable versus the HELOC option, which is, just keep in mind, it is a second mortgage. Mm-hmm. So they view those as riskier because now you have two payments. Therefore, the interest rates are also adjustable. So that needs to come into play. And then the way in which you actually receive the money and how it's repaid are different.
Yeah, I said in my intro that we were going to be comparing and contrasting, but are there any scenarios where one is just automatically a better option than the other?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think you really have to look at how long you're going to be in the house, mm-hmm. and then probably also what you need the money for. I think that if there is a short-term goal for the cash and, maybe you want to use it for reinvesting purposes. I mean, keep in mind a HELOC also kind of works just like a credit card against mm-hmm. your equity. So there could be some instances where the HELOC makes more sense because you only need the funds for maybe 1 or 2 years, right? And then you may actually have it after that to just pay that second mortgage off completely and get rid of it. Mm-hmm. Versus if you only need it short term, but you're going to go refinance the entire home's first mortgage and take out another 30-year, that might not make any sense.
Well, how soon after purchasing or refinancing my home am I allowed to do either a cash out or attach a HELOC? I assume they're two different guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. Obviously, if you just purchased the house and then you try to refinance it 2 months later, we have what's called early payoff periods, mm-hmm. or depending if you went with like a non-QM mortgage, you could have a prepayment penalty. So that might not make any sense. So you need to wait that out. And then with the HELOC option, I mean, you can pull a HELOC out on the house very soon after you purchase. But again, remember that there has to, you're taking that out against the equity. So there has to be equity in the home to take the money out against in order mm-hmm. for that to make it work.
That makes sense. Yeah. I've also seen scenarios where folks will even have a home equity line of credit in place at the same time they close on the first mortgage. And mm-hmm. so it obviously depends on how how expensive or how valuable the house is at the time. But it seems based on your answer that it's always subject to everybody's individual situation in the moment.
Yeah, well, a whole different topic of discussion is actually taking out a second mortgage to purchase the house. So I think in this case, we're just keeping it as you already own the home and now you need cash. What's the option? Do you take the cash out and refinance the first mortgage, or do you take out the second mortgage against the equity itself?
Yeah. Well, what about a renovation loan though, right? You mentioned reinvesting in the property. I assume that goes along the lines of doing a reno loan. Are there terms for those that are any more favorable than both the cash out refi that we're talking about or the home equity line of credit?
Well, the
If
most
that's what I'm looking to use
obvious, yeah, sorry. The most obvious thing, if you're going to bring in renovation loans, is you may not have enough equity in the house to do a cash out for the repairs you need. So, we all are living in the age now of the discussion of inflation and how, the price of goods and all of that. So the cost to redo a bathroom maybe 4 years ago for, a standard remodel, maybe it was $10,000 or $15,000, whereas now it might be 15 to 20. So depending on what your needs are with that renovation, there might not be enough equity in the house to take a cash out. So if you do a renovation loan, that's going to offer you you're going to be now pulling out against the equity for the post renovation of the house versus what it is now.
Yeah, it also, I think, is important to clarify sort of where those thresholds are. If you don't mind, where the renovation loan will allow me to do a little more than the cash out, like you said, or the home equity line of credit. Are there different parameters for like how much you can apply toward that renovation based on which one you choose?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, we're really talking about, identifying the current appraised value versus everything that's going to be included with the renovation post. And, you have different thresholds for loan to value ratios with all three of those. Cash out, most lenders are only going to let you go up to 75 or 80% loan to value on the house. So a lot of different things to consider. And of course, with HELOCs, the guidelines are a lot more strict because those loans, again, are just looked at being more risky, being a second mortgage.
Well, could you share a success story or two where maybe you were able to educate a client on the differences between, a cash out refi versus a home equity line of credit and manage to maybe help save them a few dollars in the process?
Yeah. The one that comes up for me most recently is somebody, again, they're deciding between the cash out option and the HELOC option. And I think for them, obviously, too, like you have to look at longevity, because in the long run, a HELOC could end up costing you more because the variable rates could in turn, long term in 20 years, you may pay more on it for the life of that versus that mortgage on your house. So I think you really do need to identify, how much cash you have, what the equity in the house looks like, what you're going to be using the cash for, and then what kind of interest rate you can get. If you're a really strong homeowner with a strong financial profile, you've got an excellent credit score, all of those things are going to make a difference. And you may be surprised at the fixed interest rate you can get with the cash out versus that HELOC. So, on this particular client, we identified that the cash out option actually worked out better in their favor long-term because they didn't really have any intention of paying anything off on the HELOC before the time period. And, it was actually in a group effort between myself and the financial advisor. I get numbers for them, put it down, and the financial advisor helps me to analyze what's going to be best 15, 20 years down the line.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us for another episode of Office Hours. I'm Malcolm Ethridge. She's Desiree Regusci. And Desiree, remind people where they can find you if they have questions or want more info after this goes live.
Absolutely. As always, Desiree at fortismortgage.com. You can find us on our website, fortismortgage.com, and then on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.